Welcome to the Pattern Recognizer. Most people are running programs they never chose. Today we expose one of those patterns, see exactly how it works, and discover the precise shift that can set you free. Let's begin. Have you noticed how 1,000 tiny neutral answers build a life that is quietly smaller than it might have been? You say, maybe later, and later becomes an archive of what never happened. You accept the compromise because it feels safe, because it's not a hard no, it's a soft cancel. That softness compounds. It becomes the river your decisions slide down. By the time you realize it, the channel is deep and the current is the default. I call this pattern the 0-point bias. Naming it is not academic. It is the first surgical act. Once you say it aloud, you can stop mistaking drift for neutrality. You can see the invisible zero that is canceling directional energy. Let's unpack the psychological mechanism first. Most of us learn indecision as a survival move. In families where conflict was costly, neutrality was rewarded. Keeping the peace meant staying safe. So the brain encodes a behavioral break. When a choice could risk loss, the default is to hover at zero. Avoidance is not laziness here, it's adaptive wiring, but adaptive at the level of safety, maladaptive for growth. This shows up as fear of commitment. In money, you pick the safe small investment. In relationships, you choose the relationship that isn't too demanding. In projects, you aim for a minimum viable outcome that won't expose you. Each soft no conserves short-term comfort and leaks long-term charge. The result? A lifetime of near misses and quiet regret, disguised as sensible moderation. That's the mechanism. Not the esoteric mechanism, because patterns have a metaphysical anatomy. In sacred geometry and Rosicrucian inner alchemy, there is a concept of the nil point, the center of the mandala. That center can be either a charged well of potential or a dead hub that absorbs motion. Numerology calls certain midpoints stagnant if not oriented. The difference depends on axis and intent. A center aligned with a vector amplifies. A center flattened into neutralization becomes a sink. Think of a compass needle. When upright and aligned, it points, it creates direction. When laid flat, the needle still exists, but the orientation is gone. It becomes a disc that rotates slowly and aimlessly. That flatness is the esoteric 0-point, potential present but not committed to vector. Traditions warn about centers that are decentered internally. A soul anchored in neutral will not accelerate toward abundance or depth. Here's a practical reframe. Imagine a charged magnet lying flat on a table. The magnetic field is still there, but sideways, unfocused. Tilt that magnet an inch and the field becomes directional. Things begin to move toward it. Your default neutral is that flat magnet. A small tilt converts passive charge into active pull. One small tilt, one tiny intentional reorientation changes the architecture of outcomes. So what is the simple high-impact shift? I call it the 0-point recalibration. A 60-second micro-write you can do daily. It has 3 parts: breath, claim, and pivot. Part 1, 3 full diaphragmatic breaths, slow and deliberate to reconnect body and axis. Part 2, a 1-word oral claim. Choose a single word that establishes direction for the day. Forward, create, receive. Say it once, aloud, as if you mean it. Part 3, a minor physical pivot. Stand, Tilt your torso an inch to the left or right and raise your chin a fraction. A tiny tilt aligns your center with the vector. Do it for 60 seconds and you are no longer neutral by default. Now we'll do it together. If you can't stand, if you can't sit, but lift your chest. Place one hand on your diaphragm. We begin with 3 slow breaths. Inhale, hold a beat, exhale, inhale, hold, exhale. One more, inhale, hold, exhale slowly. Good. Now choose your one-word claim. Say it once clearly with weight forward. Feel the syllable land. Finally, make the tiny physical pivot. Tilt your torso an inch to one side. Lift the chin a fraction, not theatrical, barely noticeable, and hold that alignment. Breathe normally. Keep the claim in mind. We'll hold this for the next 30 seconds. Breathe, claim, tilt. 1, 2, 3. Keep breathing. Feel the axis shift. You're recalibrating. Release the tilt. Bring your posture back. Notice the difference. A small internal bias toward direction, not by force but by alignment. That is the 0-point recalibration. 60 seconds that tilt your default from flat to pointing. Practice it every morning for a week and observe which small choices begin to have momentum. Recap briefly. The pattern is the 0-point bias, a habitual neutrality that conserves short-term comfort and deadens long-term charge. Psychologically, it comes from avoidance wiring and family scripts. Esoterically, it appears as a nil point that either anchors potential or absorbs it. The metaphor is the flat magnet or leveled compass. One shift changes everything. A 60-second 0-point recalibration that reconnects axis and intent. One tilt restores vector. If you want the mapped rituals that translate these patterns into daily protocols, explore my complete library at Desmarques.com. There you'll find extended recalibrations, tracking sheets, and the ritual maps behind money, relationships, and creative work. The pattern is the prison. Awareness is the key. That is the pattern, that is the mechanism, and that is your shift today. If you're ready to decode the full architecture of your life, explore my complete library at Desmarques.com.